Did you know that 80% of your daily thoughts are negative? Scientists have discovered our minds naturally drift toward pessimism as a survival mechanism hardwired into our brains. Like an overgrown garden choking out potential happiness, these thought patterns limit us. In this video, I'll show you how to transform your mind from chaos into a thriving garden. Imagine waking up feeling lighter, your thoughts naturally flowing toward solutions instead of problems. You'll learn precise techniques to identify toxic thought patterns, uproot them, and replace them with life-giving alternatives using the practical ADDI framework that's helped thousands reclaim their mental landscape. The Untended mental landscape, analyzing your current garden. Picture your mind as an actual garden for a moment. What happens when you leave a real garden unattended for months or even years? Nature doesn't politely wait for your return. Weeds aggressively spread their roots, choking out flowers and vegetables. Nutrient levels in the soil deplete. Pests move in, unchallenged. The once organized rows and beds disappear beneath tangled overgrowth. This same process unfolds in an untended mind, though we rarely recognize it happening in real time. This is why the analysis phase is the crucial first step in mental gardening. Just as a gardener must survey the land before planting, you need to understand what's currently growing in your mental landscape. Without this awareness, any attempts at transformation become random acts rather than strategic cultivation. The ADDI framework, analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation, provides a systematic approach to this inner work, with analysis serving as the foundation for everything that follows. Most people move through their days completely unaware of their thought patterns. They experience the effects, anxiety, frustration, self-doubt, without recognizing the sources. These toxic thought patterns spread beneath the level of conscious awareness, creating a profound disconnect between the life they desire and the reality they experience. Consider how a project deadline might trigger cascading thoughts of inadequacy, or how a casual comment from a colleague can spiral into assumptions about your professional worth. People wonder why happiness feels so elusive while unknowingly cultivating the very thoughts that prevent it. When negative thought patterns repeat, they create neural pathways in your brain that strengthen over time. This is neuroplasticity at work. Your brain physically adapts to your most frequent thoughts. Each time you repeat a thought like, "I'm not good enough," the pathway becomes more established, making it easier for your mind to travel down that same road again. Without intervention, these pathways become mental highways that your thoughts automatically travel, often without your conscious permission. The impact of untended negative thoughts extends beyond mood into physical health. Research from psychoneuroimmunology shows these thoughts trigger your body's stress response, flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline. When chronic, this suppresses immune function, increases inflammation, and contributes to numerous health conditions. Consider how rumination about a workplace conflict might manifest as tension headaches or disrupted sleep. Your thoughts become biology, affecting everything from cellular repair to cardiovascular health, determining both psychological and physical well-being. Cognitive distortions act as invasive species in your mental garden. These systematic errors in thinking distort reality and reinforce negative perspectives. Catastrophizing turns minor setbacks into disasters, like interpreting a single critical comment as evidence your entire project is failing. Black and white thinking eliminates nuance. Mind reading assumes the worst about others' thoughts. Personalization takes everything as a reflection on you. These distortions function like aggressive weeds, consuming the limited resources of your attention and energy. To begin analyzing your mental landscape, start with a simple assessment. For the next week, notice recurring negative thoughts. When do they appear? What triggers them? Which ones cause the most distress or lead to problematic behaviors? Perhaps during morning commutes you repeatedly worry about job security, or family gatherings trigger thoughts of inadequacy. Look for patterns: perfectionism, fear of rejection, or guilt about boundaries. Notice the emotional fingerprints these thoughts leave behind: anxiety, shame, anger, sadness. These emotions often signal important underlying beliefs. Pay special attention to your inner critic, the voice that comments on your appearance, achievements, relationships, and worth. What specific messages does this voice repeat? When did you first begin hearing these messages? Who in your life might have originally voiced these judgments? Understanding the origins of your inner critic helps you recognize when you're hearing internalized messages from others rather than objective truth. Also notice your relationship with uncertainty. Do thoughts about the future generate excitement or anxiety? Do you find yourself constantly seeking reassurance or avoiding situations where outcomes aren't guaranteed? Your tolerance for uncertainty reveals much about your underlying belief systems and how you process potential threats. Examine the stories you tell yourself about your capabilities and limitations. Do you have rigid rules about what you can and cannot do? Do you automatically dismiss certain possibilities because that's not who I am, or people like me don't do that? These narratives form the boundaries of your mental garden, determining what can and cannot grow there. This analysis process might feel uncomfortable. Many have built sophisticated avoidance strategies to keep from confronting painful thoughts. You might notice resistance, a sudden urge to check your phone during quiet moments, or to fill silence with noise. This resistance itself is valuable information. The thoughts generating the strongest avoidance often hold the most potential for transformation. When toxic thoughts grow unchecked, they create self-reinforcing cycles of negativity. Negative thoughts trigger negative emotions, creating more negative thoughts. Your attention narrows to focus on problems while filtering out positive information. Your behaviors change, withdrawing from others or engaging in unhealthy coping, which creates circumstances that seem to confirm your negative beliefs. Meanwhile, pathways for constructive thoughts weaken from disuse, making positive thinking increasingly difficult. The good news is that becoming aware of these patterns is itself transformative. The simple act of observing your thoughts creates space between you and them. You begin to recognize thoughts as mental events passing through consciousness rather than absolute truths demanding belief. This awareness is the first step toward freedom from toxic thought patterns. Understanding your mental landscape is the foundation for transformative change. With awareness, you gain the power to consciously choose which thoughts to water and which to weed out. You recognize that the garden of your mind is not fixed but fluid, constantly responding to your attention and intention. The garden blueprint, designing your ideal mental landscape. Option 3 feels most aligned with what we need here. With this inspiration, let's begin our section. Now that you can see what's actually growing in your mental garden, it's time to create the blueprint for what you want instead. Have you ever noticed how pulling weeds creates the perfect environment for those same weeds to return if nothing new is planted? This principle applies fundamentally to mental transformation. Without a deliberate design for what you want to cultivate, your mind naturally defaults to familiar patterns, even when those patterns no longer serve you. Imagine if you could completely redesign your mind from scratch. What would you choose to grow there? This question forms the essence of the design phase in our ADDI framework. This stage creates a clear blueprint for your ideal mental garden, setting specific intentions for what you want to cultivate. Think of it as drawing out the perfect garden layout before breaking any ground. You wouldn't randomly scatter seeds in a physical garden, yet surprisingly, many people approach their thought patterns exactly this way. One of the most common mistakes in personal development is focusing exclusively on eliminating negative thoughts without having a clear vision of what positive thoughts should replace them. Nature abhors a vacuum, and this principle applies equally to your mind. When you remove negative thoughts without intentionally planting positive alternatives, that mental space quickly refills with the same toxic patterns you were trying to eliminate. The design phase prevents this cycle by ensuring you have a comprehensive plan for what goes in place of the weeds. The garden metaphor reveals fascinating truths about our thought patterns. Just as some plants naturally crowd out others through their root systems or canopy coverage, certain thought patterns can overwhelm and displace others. Thoughts of gratitude naturally push out thoughts of lack when consistently cultivated. Some thought patterns, like perfectionism, require constant maintenance and pruning to keep them from overtaking your mental landscape. Others, like self-compassion, provide nourishment that strengthens your entire mental ecosystem, making it more resilient against invasive negative thoughts. Research in visualization techniques offers compelling evidence for the power of mental design. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Cognitive Enhancement demonstrated that participants who regularly visualized their desired mental state showed measurable changes in neural activity patterns. The researchers found that mentally rehearsing specific thought patterns for just 10 minutes daily created stronger neural templates that gradually became default pathways in the brain. Visualizing your ideal mental garden actually helps your brain begin building it. Think of your core values as the foundation plants in your mental garden. These are the stabilizing elements that everything else grows around, the oak trees and cornerstone shrubs that define the character of your landscape. If compassion is one of your core values, it becomes a central feature in your garden design, with related thoughts and beliefs arranged around it. If growth is a core value, it might manifest as an area dedicated to learning and expansion. By identifying these foundation elements first, you create a mental landscape with structural integrity that can withstand life's inevitable storms. What are the 3 to 5 core values you want as the foundation of your mental garden? Perhaps it's authenticity, courage, connection, curiosity, or contribution. These values should occupy the prime real estate in your mental blueprint, acting as anchors when invasive thoughts attempt to take root and providing reference points for decisions about what else to cultivate. Envision your mental garden blueprint like this. At the center are your core values, perhaps represented by sturdy trees. Branching outward are pathways leading to different garden sections, each dedicated to specific thought patterns and emotional states you want to nurture. For example, creating your mental garden schematic involves mapping desired thought patterns, emotional states, and beliefs as different sections of your garden. Ask yourself, what emotional states do you want to experience regularly? What thought patterns would support your goals and well-being? What beliefs about yourself and the world would serve you better than your current ones? You might designate a section for self-belief thoughts, another for relationship-nurturing perspectives, and another for growth mindset reflections. Perhaps include a meditation pond where thoughts can settle and become clear, or a wild meadow where creative ideas can flourish without constraint. This approach transforms abstract concepts like positive thinking into a tangible, visual structure that your mind can work with effectively. This blueprint becomes more powerful when you consider the natural relationships between different mental elements. Just as companion planting in physical gardens creates beneficial relationships between plants, certain thoughts naturally support and enhance others. Thoughts of self-worth make vulnerability less threatening. Perspectives of abundance make generosity more natural. Understanding these relationships allows you to design clusters of complementary thoughts that reinforce each other. The detail in your blueprint matters significantly. Vague intentions like, "I want to be more positive," provide insufficient guidance for your mind. Instead, specify exactly what positive means to you. Is it optimism about the future? Appreciation for the present? Compassion toward yourself and others? The more specific your design, the more effective your mental gardening efforts will be. Your brain responds to precision, not generalities. This blueprint becomes the reference point for all your future mental gardening work. When uncertain about whether to nurture a particular thought or remove it, consult your design. Does this thought align with your blueprint? Does it contribute to or detract from the garden you're trying to create? Without this reference point, mental cultivation becomes arbitrary and inconsistent, subject to moods and circumstances rather than guided by intentional design. In any ecosystem, including your mind, resources like attention and emotional energy are finite. Thoughts compete for these resources. The strongest ones dominate your mental landscape, growing larger and influencing smaller patterns. When you design your ideal mental garden, you're deciding which thoughts deserve your resources and which don't. This transforms mental cultivation from a vague aspiration into a practical exercise in resource management, something concrete that you can implement systematically.